This video is a film study look at Carl Lawson, the Ravens' veteran defensive end acquisition that they actually signed to the practice squad. I wonder how soon he'll be put on the field on game days because of the extreme need that the Ravens have in terms of pass rush on the edge position. I do think that he's more of a defensive end type than an outside linebacker. 6'2", 260, only 30 years old, if I did my research correctly. Very, very rugged. He's good, excellent in short space. I think his moves are tight against offensive tackles in the pass rush. He did seem to play a lot of pass rush situations in Dallas, the film that I had. I've got, I think, about 9 or 10 plays queued up here for you. Perhaps try to do a follow-up Saturday morning as part of a preview for the Bears game and really focus on his efforts, his performance last year against the San Francisco 49ers. One of the few full-length game films I have of Dallas, besides our game against them last year in Week 3. We'll actually show a couple of plays here from that game. This is a 3rd and 2. He's not part of the tackle or stopping Lamar. It's a 3rd and 2, a quarterback counter read or bash. He's to the top side, generally played to the Cowboys' right-hand side of their defense. Again, I would consider him to be more of a defensive end, but occasionally you see him in this film in a 2-point stance, standing up, excuse me. So it's QB counter read with the left guard and left tackle pulling, running back running across Lamar's face, parallel to the line of scrimmage, a play that has really disappeared for us in 2025. And so the one thing I will say about him is he's committed. When I watch the film, basically he's not betraying the read. In this case, it's an option read. So many defensive ends, we've seen them basically not do anything on this quarterback play, this quarterback bash play or QB counter read. The options are, take the running back, which is what he does, run down the line of scrimmage to chase Lamar, which of course, should be a give read for Justice Hill. We don't really see either one of those historically. We see DNs kind of freeze and sit, and it just continues to be shocking, the lack of commitment that some of these guys have. That's not Carl Lawson. To me, when we watch the film of him, we are seeing a guy that is committed to what he's doing. I think he's a team player. I think it's probably one of the reasons why the Ravens brought him in now that we have such a need, with Tavius Robinson being out for a long time after we traded away Odafe Owe. Same play from the end zone angle. This is, of course, the game when the Ravens, ran for a ton of yards. Lamar is reading the defensive end, Carl Lawson on our left. Most of the time, Micah Parsons is on the opposite side. In this case, on a 3rd and 2, Lamar keeps it properly. It's the correct read because Lawson is stepping up with the running back for a 3-yard gain. He only played 8 snaps against us. That's why, I'm really not focusing on him in terms of how he played last year against us. Chip situation for Mark Andrews, and then Ronnie Stanley dealing with Lawson. I do like his moves generally that I see. It's more of a bull rush mentality, basically attacking or taking on half a man. He really doesn't have much option here. It ends up being a penalty on the Ravens on this 3rd down completion to Justice Hill. He's more of a half-man mentality and a lot of top-side moves. This is one of his more impressive plays, and yes, it does actually come against a tight end. The Falcons, for whatever reason, are going to solo or one-on-one block him with Kyle Pitts. I actually think Bijan Robinson is supposed to come across the formation and possibly help him, but functionally, the way it works out, I should say, is it ends up being a one-on-one with Kyle Pitts. An instant win, very slight, little move, slapping with the outside hand, rip with the inside hand to get around him, force a fumble on Kirk Cousins. As you would expect. You would expect him to get a win in a one-on-one situation against a tight end, especially one like Kyle Pitts, who isn't the most physical guy in the first place. So give the end zone angle so you can see what I'm talking about. I think Bijan is probably supposed to help. Those two guys are just not on the same page. I would love, for Lawson to come in and get an opportunity like this because, we've had so much trouble generating pass rush. Mike Green has really struggled. That's just the facts. Kyle Van Noy missed a little bit of time. I think he does have 2 sacks at this point in time. I think him and Madubuike are tied for the team lead, which is kind of crazy because Madubuike's been out for so long, and Kyle Van Noy missed the better part of, I think, 2 weeks. Same play from the end zone angle. It's a 3rd and 9, like I said. So Bijan is moving across the formation or across the quarterback's face. He's set up to the inside, and Pitts allows Lawson to win to the outside. So, something's obviously not right. But from a pass rush standpoint, quick move for Lawson, you can see very automatic, and he plays at the quarterback. And what I mean by that is he doesn't seem scared of the quarterback escaping. I'm not just talking about this play because, it's Kirk Cousins, who's not very mobile at all. And that's one thing I would say about our defensive ends, our outside linebackers, in 2025, is that we seem to be less in an attack mindset. Lawson has 32 career sacks, 4 forced fumbles. He, of course, played 4 years in Cincinnati initially, kind of before Lou Anarumo showed up. Moved to the Jets. We faced him week 1 of 2022, if you recall, when we win the game in New York against Joe Flacco. I think 2023 he was injured and then came back last year to play with the Dallas Cowboys and have 5 sacks and I think 9 or 10 quarterback hits. But 3rd and 6, another sack against the Falcons. This one's actually going to be against a left tackle. Bijan is a running back set to his side, and he kind of slides out into the flat. So, not tasked to help with the pass pro, although it looks for a moment like he could possibly chip. This is what I mean when I say I think he's a half-man attack guy. He doesn't avoid contact. He doesn't try to run around and beat people with speed. He tries to beat them with tight technique. Is it going to work for us in 2025? We don't even know if he's going to get on the field, right? If he's going to get an opportunity. I think he should. I really do. I think he plays downhill, more of a bull rush guy. I wonder if we need more of that, if we need more of that mentality as opposed to some of the softer moves that our guys are trying oftentimes. It's not that, I don't like the cross chop that Mike Green has, but it hasn't been working. This one has, in fact, for Carl Lawson, and we have film of it. This one's not a cross chop, but you can see the way that I think this is his default personality. More stocky at 6'2", 260, in my opinion, but he's got ability to play through contact, at least from the film that I have seen. I like the acquisition for the situation that we're in now. If you had told me at the beginning of 2025 that we would end up with Carl Lawson, I would say, why? We had so many edge defenders. Well, when we traded away Odafe Owe for Alohi Gilman, and then Tavius gets hurt, we're now subtracting too. So to me, this is at least an option for us that is cheap. It doesn't require a lot of draft capital to acquire, or none, in fact. I think that he reminds me more of like a Texans defensive end. Physical, plays at defined angles, and gets across the line of scrimmage. And in my opinion, like I said before, we need some of that. He did have an extremely effective stretch during the midseason of 2024. So week 13 here against the Giants, he had 5 quarterback hits in this game and 1 sack, which we'll show you here. It's a 1st and 10 late in the second quarter. There's going to be a chip by the running back, and then the left tackle will take over. 33 snaps in this game. The most violent work that I saw him have on film was in this game. So he plays downhill here. He's got a wide alignment because of the chip by the running back, and then just closes the space on a left tackle that's really struggled for the Giants, at least in the film that I have seen. I don't mean to be disrespectful, and that's why I'm not naming him. I'm just saying I've seen this guy struggle often. But here's Lawson off the right side of the Cowboys defense. Parsons off the left. Of course, both of those guys are now gone. Parsons in Green Bay, and Lawson in Baltimore as part of the practice squad. So I do like his ability to play through contact. He's rugged, strong. I don't think he's a guy that we should be dropping out in pass coverage. I'd like to see him, if he's on the field, let him attack. Let him play downhill at the quarterback. And meaning in some cases, not worried about the quarterback escaping out the side door. I think that he's a guy who, when he was in Dallas, at least the film that I saw, they seemed to be comfortable with him playing at the quarterback. And the Ravens' edge players, our outside linebackers so far this year, haven't been doing that, in my opinion. This is a guy with a little bit more aggressive mentality or approach at getting at the quarterback. I think that if we do get him dressed and active on game day, especially this week against the Bears, it should be in more pass rush situations and basically just let him go. He's going to attack to the top side, outside rushes. I don't foresee him trying to win with speed. I see him trying to win with tight technique on a half man of the tackle. Generally the left tackle in this film from 2024. It's a cross chop here that actually works. I think, part of it is the angle that he gets to. He gets on top of it, so there's a little bit of that elevation, that jump to chop down or swat down with the outside arm, I should say. I'll give you the end zone angle of this one. It's against the left tackle for Carolina. Like I said, all of this is 2024 film clearly. Ends up in one of his 5 sacks on the year. Here's the end zone view of it. It's a 2nd and 2 late in the fourth quarter. Dallas is obviously in control at this point. So he gets on top of it, and it's a one-on-one situation. I do see him as a guy that I'd like to get on the field compared to some of the others that we have that they're not winning and are really not doing anything. Ojabo is not giving us anything, in my opinion. Even against the run, the touchdown run 2 weeks ago, or I guess at this point 2 weeks ago, for the Rams, once they get down there early third quarter, he's wrong. Ojabo is wrong to me. Lawson is a veteran guy who looks like he can be trusted to do what he's asked to do. I like the move. It's a better move than Green's, but I think because he's getting on top of it and the angle is different. Like I said in the lead-in, more of a defensive end, if you ask me, than an outside linebacker. Here he is in a 2-point stance, though, and it's not a sack. I guess maybe this goes down as a quarterback pressure. It's against the Steelers, Week 5, in the first quarter. Kind of a cool mesh variation by the Steelers, but I'm not really showing all the other routes. Fullback / tight end is slipping out into the flats, and Lawson's unblocked initially. So Najee Harris tries to cut him, and he's able to get 2 points of contact on the ground, his hands, and then bounce back up immediately. He's athletic. He's very athletic. I would like to see him get an opportunity. For this defense, the way we are right now, I'd like to see him get an opportunity. Not that I don't think, Kyle Van Noy, Mike Green are guys that can play. You guys know what I think of Van Noy and how he's played for us the last couple of years. We haven't seen that type of production in 2025. Obviously, no one is producing on the edge for the Ravens in 2025. To me, bringing in a guy who's been around the league, a veteran with pre-installed skills, if you will, I'd like to see a guy like this get on the field, and what if he does produce? Well, then we know the problem is us, potentially, right? The way that we're asking guys to do things, the way that we're perhaps limiting their ability to play downhill, play freely with the threat of, maybe the quarterback escaping. The last play that I picked here, I think, is more so just a commentary on what I'd like to see at times from the Ravens. If we're having such trouble getting at the quarterback and can't disrupt them at all, think, Matt Stafford 2 weeks ago or, week 6 before the bye. He's just standing back there against our organic four-man rushes that are not winning. I'm not sure that Lawson is going to win consistently in a four-man rush situation. This is actually a stunt, so the inside linebacker is going to fold or loop around, and Lawson's going to stunt to the inside to try to clear that path, shorten that edge, if you will, on the left tackle. He does end up getting a sack, okay, as Justin Fields tries to get out of here. I would say he looks a little stiff at times compared to other guys that maybe we've seen across the league at the edge position. I'd like to see us blitz and bring some pressure more. Do we have to show it, though? That would be my comment. We're in these mug looks so often. To me, they seem to be ineffective globally. I'm not saying they never work to get pressure, but in my opinion, they have not been nearly as productive, the mug looks, as they were under Mike McDonald in 2022 and 2023. And I think that's kind of when or where we started to rely on them a lot. Do I think that the Lawson signing is going to fix things for the Ravens defense? No. I mean, come on. But he's a veteran, and just like I think I said this in a video earlier this week about the Ravens offense. I'd like to see a veteran guard in here who has pre-installed techniques and understanding of how to block things and how to identify things. And because I wonder about our coaching, I'm just going to be blunt with you. They're far better coaches than me. I couldn't even, sniff what those guys are capable of. But the point is, at the NFL level, you're facing other great coaches. And in my opinion, I'm at this point where we are in 2025 interested to see if a guy like Carl Lawson or even a veteran guard was able to come in here and show more consistency, get more things done on the offensive side, open up more running lanes and or provide more consistent pass protection. Here at the defensive end / edge position in terms of Carl Lawson, generate more consistent pass rush, some actual threat at the quarterback. I don't think Carl Lawson is a 35, 40 snap per game guy for us. I think he's a 23, 25 snap per game guy in some third down situations, letting him attack the quarterback, see if we can generate some pressure, some actual pressure on the quarterback and disrupt his ability to make reads, because even in the Rams game when we played well defensively, holding them to 17 points, and EA and I talked about this in Inside the Coverage earlier this week, I was encouraged to watch the Rams obliterate the Jags defense last Sunday morning in Week 7, across the pond. It's 28-0 in the third quarter. At one point, the Rams offense is just in control, getting done pretty much anything they want to. 7 days after, we had really limited them, shut them down at times in the first half. So I'm interested to see if our defense is on the upswing. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous to even express that thought or that phrase, those words consecutively with reference to the Ravens defense in 2025, being as we have Tavius Robinson out for a long time. And after trading away Odafe Owe, and now he's got, I think, 2 sacks for the Chargers. Not much else contributed in terms of tackles that I'm aware of. I think 2 sacks and maybe 3 or 4 quarterback hits. But Carl Lawson, to me, looks like a safe signing to the practice squad. Give us an opportunity to bring the guy up to the active roster. I think he should be active against the Bears. I don't know what your thoughts are. You're more than welcome to have a different opinion, obviously. But to me, given what we have there, the lack of production, including Mike Green. I think Mike Green should be on the field playing a lot of snaps, but I don't know what the point is at this moment for David Ojabo to play as many snaps as he did against the Rams, especially in pass rush situations where he's just really given us nothing. I'd like to see Carl Lawson get an opportunity for us. Would I prefer a larger, more impact signing on the defensive side? Yes and no, to be direct with you. Would I like a better player on the edge for the Ravens, someone who could get things done individually, independent of scheme? Of course, right? That's a no-brainer. But my point is this. How many acquisitions, how much attention, how much allocation do we need for the defensive side to be successful? At some point, I think there's got to be more of a balancing out of the Ravens' philosophy globally. Yes, the defense has been terrible in 2025. Our 2 or 3 or even 4 Carl Lawson type signings going to fix it? No. I mean, we did acquire Gilman last week, briefly signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Who knows what happened with that? And now Carl Lawson. I just worry that we are so caught up or focused on the defensive side of the ball that we have a blind spot, an organizational blind spot. We actually do. I mean, you guys know my thoughts on it. We have an organizational blind spot at the offensive line position that's been exacerbated by the injury to Ronnie Stanley this year. In any case, this is my film study video on Carl Lawson. You guys didn't sign up to hear a all-encompassing critique of our roster building style, but I think that at this point it's pretty obvious we are like 58-42 or 55-45 if you want to be soft about it, leaning towards the defense, meaning we will address the defense quicker. We will address the defense. We'll take more shots on defense than we will on offense, trying to improve that side of the ball. And in my opinion, at this point, for this team, and even moving forward into 2026, we've probably got to swing in the other direction. 55% focus on the offense and 45% focus on the defense because of the diminishing results that we're getting, number one, and number two, because of what appears to be a complete inability or unwillingness by John Harbaugh to address or attack what's happening by our defensive coaches. In any case, I appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoyed this film study video on Carl Lawson, please let me know in the comment section. If you did not enjoy my commentary at the end, you're, of course, encouraged to leave your comment there as well. Appreciate you guys' time.